Welcome, this is Casey Truby to Find, Fix, and Flip. This is video 2, Why Businesses Get in Trouble. You'll remember from our last video that we reported business failures are caused by 5 mistakes that unskilled owners make over and over. But today we're going to cover mistake number 1. In our future videos, once we've gone over the 5 mistakes, I'll show you how to find clients. But for today, let's look at what 96% of all small business owners do. They make the same 5 mistakes. Now, we've all heard about the 7 deadly sins. In business, it's 5 deadly mistakes. And here they are. I'll just read them off to you immediately. 1, we commit the sin of the inaccurate assumption. The second mistake is we fail to see our business as a series of processes or systems that must be in writing. Third thing we do, we spend way too much time working on the wrong thing. Fourth, we do not hire talent and then delegate everything so we can spend our time thinking and planning. And the 5th mistake is we don't seek counsel from those who will tell us the truth. Now, the reason we need to know these mistakes is because if we can identify the mistake, then we'll know how to fix it. First, we've got to name it, then we can fix it. If you're going to have a turnaround, you've got to have a complete plan in place before you sign a single document other than a simple NDA. We've got to know NDA is non-disclosure. It's okay to sign a non-disclosure statement, but don't take on a company until you know how you're going to get out. We plan our way out before we plan our way in. So today let's talk about mistake number 1 that our acquisition targets have made, that if we can identify it, we can fix it. And I mean, we can fix it in 4 to 8 weeks most of the time and move a company that might be losing $5,000 or $10,000 a month to $10,000 or $15,000 in profit. That just happened to me just this month. I moved one losing $12,000 a month into, we thought it was only going to be about $15,000, but it might within another 2 months move up to $33,000 a month positive. Isn't that bizarre? And it was so obvious. So mistake number 1, we commit the sin of the inaccurate assumption. Now that's what our business owners do. They make the sin of the inaccurate assumption. And we're convinced that we know something, but it's just not right. We're convinced. I'm going to give you an example. This recent acquisition I just did. And I kept asking the staff people, why do we have so many small customers? It seems to me that we wouldn't make any money on clients spending under $1,000 a month. You see, the company had 150 clients, 30 of them paid over $1,000 a month, and 120 paid under $1,000. And it looked to me like, well, it takes the same amount of time in overhead and cost of operations for the small customer as it does the large one. So it would seem like the cost of all the overhead divided equally between all the customers was $308 per month. Now, here's why this is so important. If the large customer and the small customer cost the same amount of overhead to service, then my question is, why do we have all these small customers? Because the average small customer only pays us $165 a month. So after our cost of goods, we were losing an average of $203 per client per month on those bottom 120. It would have been cheaper to just mail them $200 in an envelope and never go out to see them. So I asked the staff, I asked the managers, I asked the owner, why are we doing this? And they were so convinced we've got to take these small clients because they turn into our big clients later. Now that was an assumption. And I listened to the assumption. I asked it multiple times. It kept getting the same assumption. And I thought to myself, I'm going to drill down on this because that doesn't make sense to me. So I got the customer list out and I started looking at the people who did business with us. And then when did they start? What did they spend with us when they started several months ago or several years ago? And every one of the top 30 clients that were paying over $1,000 a month started at over $1,000 a month. We had no good clients that didn't start good. Over the past 4 years, this business had suffered $1.2 million in losses on those low-end clients in hope and in an inaccurate assumption, the sin of the inaccurate assumption that these little guys are going to turn into big guys. And every time, I don't know if anyone ever brought it up, but I do know this, the owner was going nuts on this challenge. Then another one, I'll give you another one. Another common misconception, I ask him if I'm in an acquisition meeting with the owners and the managers or whatever, and I say, why have you not raised prices? And the answer I love to hear is because our customers won't pay blank. Woohoo, that's great. Because Harvey McKay told me this, you never say no for the other guy. He's the guy that wrote those books, Swim with the Shark Without Losing Your Shirt. Never say no for the other guy. If the seller believes people won't pay more by just making such a blanket statement, this is a winning deal for you. So here's what we do. To make sure we're not suffering the sin of the inaccurate assumption and going off in directions that don't make any sense, start by asking everyone in the office questions on each step in the business cycle. How do we get leads? How do you close the sales? How do you set up a retention system? And then drill down on that financial statement. And if you don't understand financial statements, bring in somebody to either pay them by the hour or go into partnerships with them, but get somebody to come in and tell you what they see in these financial statements. Also, look at the customers. Now, if you can't get through all the customers, sort out the top 20%, and go out and talk to some of the customers. Here's your question. Why are you a customer of ours? Find out why they're buying. And then call the bottom 20% and find out why don't you buy anymore. You see, in life, if you can name a problem, you can solve it. You see, answers are easy. You can open there. Everybody's got the answers. It's the question that is hard. Now, if you're doing this kind of looking for the sin of inaccurate assumption and you see something that is totally obvious, keep it to yourself. Don't tip your hand on how you would fix the business until it's yours to fix, because a lot of clients will fall back in love with their company once they hear you optimistically saying, well, I'll do this and I'll do this and I'll do this. And all of a sudden they're looking at you and says, well, I'll do all that and keep it and make a lot of money. Keep it to yourself when you find the obvious. And once we find these problems, then we can bring in a team or we can hire people that will be able to come in and fix it for us. So this is the end of video 2. Next week's video, we're going to talk about our second biggest problem out of the 5, and we hope that you will join us in this. Casey Truby, let's keep that cash register ringing.